I love bacon. Who doesn't love bacon, right? Bacon is one of the best meats to eat, and here's what I think. Bacon has a bunch of marbling in it, has that fat running through a protein layer. It is delicious, and when you're cooking bacon, we're gonna pay special attention to it today. We're gonna keep the bacon grease from it. It's almost like the bone broth we're making. We're keeping the bones from the chicken, but from the fat that comes off this bacon, we're gonna use later in our cooking. It makes a really great flavor profile when you're cooking anything like vegetables or another meat. Using that bacon grease, it stays a long time, so you can drain it off and use it for later. Put it in a Tupperware container, set it to the side. Doesn't even have to be refrigerated. It's great. So today we're gonna have bacon. We're gonna have our kale salad, of course. Always eating kale. Kale and broccoli are cruciferous vegetables. They are packed full of minerals and vitamins that the body needs. Just really good stuff that make you feel good, and they look like they're healthy. Just having them, they're fantastic. We have some cucumbers in there today, a little bit of cilantro, lime as our dressing, if you will. We have our avocado. Every time you eat a meal, please have an avocado. They're full of so much delicious fats for you. We're always looking for our fats. Our diet's 70% fat, so a lot of us can come from avocados and nuts, as well as bacon. And of course, we're gonna have our trusty nuts on the side, a big bowl of them to add that crunch in our meal that we're gonna love. So as always, make sure you have a set of bowls. Just set them out on your counter. If you want to dig through your cabinets while you're doing it, that's fine, but to make things quick, make sure everything's set out. We have some scissors, we have our knife and steel, we have our chopping block, we have some salt and pepper, we're gonna have our bacon pan. Always number one, we're gonna go after the thing that's the longest to prepare. And so we're cooking bacon today, so bacon's gonna be the longest thing to prepare. So we're gonna start that first. Now, when you're cooking bacon in the oven, always cook it on broil. Again, heat on bake comes from the bottom of the oven. Broil comes from the top. And seeing as how we want to cook the bacon and crisp it, we want heat from the top to come down and cook the bacon and make that crispy for us. And then we're going to drain that bacon grease off a couple times as the bacon bakes. So number one, this is your big bowl. Again, when you're making a salad and you put it in here, we want to make it real simple. We want to divide it up into 100 different containers. We're just going to put a plate over it when it's done. We'll set it in the refrigerator, come back and eat over 3 days. Don't even worry about partitioning it. Just take your chopsticks and eat it. And then put the lid back on, throw it back in the refrigerator. Save yourself some time. Because really, this is what it's all about. We want to make sure that we're making large meals quickly and something that you can easily store and come back to later. So starting off, we're just going to set everything on the side. We'll start with our bacon. So let's get our stove going. Oh. Number one, let's start broil. Get it hot. All right, on high, why not? Hey, always keep a trusty towel, okay? Don't go for the paper towels. Don't wash your hands all the time. Keep something right here. It's great for just wiping your hands off. It's great for grabbing hot plates out of the ovens. It's great for wiping your countertops, throw it back over. Always trusty, always right here. Always keep one. If you don't have one, just buy a couple of hand towels. They're great. Your pan. This is a seasoned pan. I just cooked off of it and I just rinsed it off, washed my hand over it. It's seasoned, it's still a little bit greasy. It has that great layer. We want to keep that pan seasoned. It really brings the flavor back. It makes it easy to cook on. It doesn't stick to the pan because it has a nice greasy layer. So make sure your pan stays like this, nice and dark and greasy. Don't worry about it. It's not gonna hurt you. It's gonna be great. So let's start with our bacon here. We'll just cut it out. We'll just pull it right out of the bacon. You take your wrapper and just kind of mush it, and that bacon will pop right out. Boom, just like that. We'll set this to the side, throw it away later, recycle it if you can. All right, so we got a lot of bacon here, right? But you know what? It's gonna fit in our pan. So when you're putting bacon on there, we want to cook all this bacon at once. We're trying to bake a lot of food at one time. So we don't want to just kind of put bacon willy-nilly. We want to make sure we fill this pan up, and we want to start all the way on the edge. You can even put it on the edge of this pan. It'll be okay. Just make sure you tuck it in so that when the grease falls down, it goes into the side. And we'll stack that bacon right next to the other one, just like that. Snug it up. Don't worry about if it overlaps a little bit, because as soon as you put this bacon in the oven, it's going to recoil, and it's going to shrink, and you're going to be able to see those lines form, and you can cook those bacon even if it's a little bit overlapped. Oh yeah, this looks like delicious bacon. Let's speed it up here a little bit. Don't worry about getting it pretty. Just go ahead and lay it out. You can start on this side too if you want. Do you guys love bacon as much as I do? That was going to be a double piece. Yeah. Let's get this laid out. Looks like this is going to be a little bit sticky bacon, huh? That's all right. Doesn't it be pretty? Good. So this was a little bit stickier than normally. You know, this bacon usually comes apart, but that's okay. That's just what happens in the kitchen. Sometimes things go exactly right, and sometimes you gotta spend a little extra time. But we just wanna separate it. We want to make it pretty. Just get it out on the pan. We wanna lay it nice and flat. And again, once we get in the oven, we start cooking with it, it's gonna shrink up really quick, and we'll be able to reposition stuff, get it nice and flat and laid out. But this is pretty much what you wanna do. Real easy. Don't worry about it too much. Okay, our pan's covered nice. Again, we're putting as much bacon as we can on here. We want to make sure that we have plenty of bacon when we're done. That way we have to cook bacon every 5 minutes. Okay, that's pretty flat. That's laid out. I think this will work. So I have a couple double pieces here. Some are overlapping. You know, this one's overlapping, and it's not going to get a lot of play from that broiler. So what we're going to do is we're going to let it kind of shrink down a little bit. We'll reposition it, maybe flip it over, and we'll go back at it. I'm going to rinse my hands on this one and not use my towel. That way I'm not putting raw bacon all over everything. Just real quick, give it a quick rinse. Good. Wipe it off. So that's step one, right? Getting our bacon ready. Oh man, I love bacon. It's gonna be so good. Now the broiler's still getting a little bit hot, but that's okay. We don't care too much about it being perfect temperature. We just want to start the process. So let's throw it in there. We won't set a timer. We're just gonna use our ear. We're gonna be able to hear the bacon start to pop. And what you really want, you want a pair of tongs. If you don't have tongs, it's okay. Use a spatula, because when we drain the bacon off, we're gonna want to hold one edge of it while we drain it. We also want a drainage bowl for our bacon grease. We'll just use this one right here. When you're draining bacon grease, don't use plastic. Number one, it's gonna shrink and melt when you put it in there. Number two, plastics will leach when you add heated products to it. When you microwave it, or you add hot water, or you add hot bacon grease, it leaches plastics out, and you will consume those. There's been a study recently that shows that 80% of Americans are showing that they have plastics in their body, in their bloodstream. Just telling us how bad plastics are getting for us. So you just wanna make sure we avoid plastics at all costs, especially heated plastics. All right, let's get down to our bowl while our bacon's going. So see, we first did our longest time period, our longest time requirement, which was bacon. Now we're gonna move on to the salad. We'll just listen in the background for that bacon to start popping, and we'll start taking care of it as it proceeds. Kale, as always. Take the kale. This is a hearty vegetable. You can't hurt us, right? You can't hurt this. So take you with your right hand and your left hand and just twist that bottom part off. Sounds so good, doesn't it? Just see if you can get a little bit of that kale off. Again, we want to have an extra bowl so we can just throw away we can just put our remnants in a bowl and not have to walk to the trash can every 5 minutes. That's a killer. That's a time waster in the kitchen. Hold the kale by the spine right here with your left hand, and then your right hand, you just want to peel those leaves off of the spine. The spine's the hardest part. People, when they get the spine, they really hate it. It's super hard to eat. It's not very tasty. So we just get rid of that spine. Hold it with the left hand. Pull with the right. Here we go. All right, now we're getting to the rhythm. Once you kind of going, you know, you can rip a kale bundle apart in like 30 seconds. So we'll get into it here. Here we go. Now today we're going to be using some lime. I like lemon a lot on my kale, but I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Lime has a little bit of a different flavor profile than lemons, although they're both citrus. They have such great vitamin C in them. I don't normally eat fruit. I do have lemons and limes. I think they fall outside the fruit category, and they definitely are fruit, but they have a lot lower sugars, a lot lower fructose, and their vitamins are super high. So eating them is a great addition to some really natural vitamins that are ready for your body. So don't shy away from citrus fruit. Now once we're in here, you know, leaves are kind of long again like this. We want to make sure we go in here, we just break it up a little bit more. Second time around. Here we go. Nice. So we've got a nice kale bed this time. I might even put another bunch in here, but I'm going to start with this today because I'm going to put a lot more of the other vegetables in instead. So, now that we're cutting, we have our steel. We're going to warm our knife. We're going to sharpen this knife up every time that we cook. We just take our steel. You might have one of these in the kitchen. We just want to pull our knife down the edge. It hones it, is what it does. So it makes that knife edge really sharp. We want to make sure that's good. And of course, once you get a little bit better at it, you can go fast. Always tuck your finger in. Don't hold it like this. You regret that. Tuck your finger in. This will stop it from hitting your hand. Just want to kind of run down the steel a little bit. It doesn't take a lot. Just a nice hone. When you're cutting your limes, as always, you want to cut off the edges. This is a hard part. Pull your fingers back, right? Use your knuckles as the stop for the blade, then cut down. That way you're never going to cut your fingers. Same thing here. You can position your line, pull your fingers back, knife to knuckles, down it goes. If you look at the inside, you'll see the spine. This is the hard part of the lime. This is the part that you can hardly squeeze when you cut it just directly down the middle. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut that spine out by just cutting on the side. See that spine? We'll do the same thing over here. Now that doesn't mean you throw the spine away. It just means that you cut that spine out the best you can. And again, these are the parts that are the hardest. So when you go to squeeze, you're like, why can't I squeeze this line? You know, it's just because of these edges that are keeping it stiff. So we cut our lime, that's delicious, that's great. We're just gonna squeeze some of that lime in here. Again, you know, keeping it simple in the dressing. Kale already tastes delicious. All it needs is a little bit of salt and pepper and a little bit of citrus fruit. There we go, we'll mix that up nice in there. And now, I got a little bit of stuff in my hands, that's okay. We'll just use this towel. We'll just wipe off, look, it doesn't have to be pretty. Salt and pepper, here we go. Just like always, make sure you put salt and pepper on your vegetables because it'll bring out the flavor of them. Flip that over a little bit, get those nice and soaked in. We're going to wipe our hands off one more time with salt and pepper. Boom. See, that wasn't so bad, was it? We'll set that aside for a second. Now I'm hearing some bacon pop. So that means that I'm cooking over there, which means that maybe I got some grease going that might need to be removed. The thing about bacon is the more it bakes, the more grease it makes. So by dumping that grease off, we'll allow that bacon to cook a little crispier. We'll flip it over and we'll pull that grease off. Just takes a couple times. Bacon doesn't require a lot of cooking, but the skills in pulling that grease out is important because we're gonna use it later in the cooking. It's really gonna make our food pop. All right. It is definitely crisping up good. Let me give it a good angle here. So again, my handy towel, I just folded it a couple times and it becomes this great hot net. Here's how we're doing. Now look at that grease. See it all right here? Don't throw that away, and definitely don't throw it down your sink. It'll clog your sink up. So let's not do that. So let's dump it off here. You can normally do this by the stove, but I want to show you guys, so I'm going to do it right here. We're just going to hold the pan like that. Now see, this is the point I was talking about with the tongs. See how our bacon starts to slip? We're just going to hold that bacon edge like that. Just going to stop it enough that we can pour this grease off. And this is delicious, so let's not throw this. Let's not just throw everything away from our kitchen. Let's use as much as we can of it. Now our pan's back to no grease. It's gonna start cooking again and being crispy. You can already see it's getting crispy on the top. Still a little wilting on the bottom. Maybe we'll give this a first flip. Let's just go back here. I'll flip it on top of the oven. Nothing fancy, of course. We're just gonna grab that bacon, flip it over, grab it, just by as much as you can, give it a flip. Here we go. Okay. Oh man, it's looking good. It's smelling fantastic for sure. And our kale salad is about halfway done. So we're almost halfway through cooking this. And this is plenty of bacon. This is plenty of bacon for lots of people, or maybe it's just for you on multiple days. Great. So at this point, we're trying to lay this bacon out as flat as we can so that we can get it crispy from the broiler. Oh yeah, that looks good. I think it's gonna need one more flip. But look, we'll fold that towel back up. All right, make sure you fold it up lots of times so when you grab something with the pan, grab the pan that's not super hot. Back in the oven it goes. Again, we'll keep an ear on it, not an eye on it, an ear on it. You can hear bacon popping, but look at this grease. We'll come back to this a little bit later. It's gonna congeal and it's gonna make this nice white layer of fat that we're gonna use for cooking, and it's so delicious. We'll set this back over here. We're not done with the grease for sure. We got our base right. Let's start adding some other stuff to it. We got broccoli, we got cucumbers. We're gonna throw a little cilantro in there just for fun. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. Let's go with broccoli first. So again, broccoli has a way to cut, right? Always make sure your knife is away from your fingers. Grab the broccoli by the crown, chop off that big end. You can start to see the florets just fall off. We're gonna do a scooping motion. We're gonna come inside and scoop to the outside to get these broccoli florets off. So we'll start here, we'll scoop around the outside and back down. And pull that off. Now when I let go, broccoli just kind of falls apart. Here we go, we'll scoop again, just like that. Do it with this broccoli too. So we'll chop off that big end, the florets that are loose, it falls off. We'll come in with scoop up high, come down low, throw that edge away, broccoli. Here we go. If you find a little bit, guys, that are just too big for your taste, we chop off those edges, it won't hurt anything. So there, we just took our broccoli, it was hardly manageable, and we made it into something that we can easily eat. Perfect. Let's add a little bit more lime to this, huh? Let's do a little lime on this. Before we put it in our kale bowl, we just put a little salt and pepper on there too. You know, again, salt and pepper brings out the natural flavors of food, so you want to use that. We'll just throw that back in here. Good, here we go. Cucumbers. Cucumbers, of course, just like everything else, have a method. Again, when you're cutting stuff, don't hold it like this. Don't keep your finger out here, holding, just waiting to be cut. We're gonna hold the cucumber like we need to, pull our fingers back. use our knuckles as the barrier to cutting. When we're cutting cucumbers, we want to cut a little bit on the bias. If we cut it straight, they turn into wheels and they roll right off our countertop. Cutting them on the bias like this will ensure it's making it harder to roll. When you're cutting, keep your knife steady and feed your food into your cut. Don't hold the food and move your knife. It'll make the knife a very dangerous situation when you move it back. So here we go. We're gonna rock. We're gonna pull our knuckles back. You see it start rolling, cut a little bit more on the bias. It'll flatten them out. It won't roll away. Here we go. Cucumbers smell so delicious too. All right, there we go. Easy peasy. We got one more to go. We'll speed this one up a little bit. We'll pull our knuckles back, cut on the bias. We'll throw that in kind of the side, and we'll start chopping here. Knife's all still. I'm feeding the cucumber in. That way I'm not gonna have my fingers in the way. Lots of delicious cucumbers. Cucumbers are so good for you, let me tell you. They're fantastic. All right. Now that we're here, let's just lay it out. Look, if you got some that are escaping your chopping board, that's all right. All right, that's what cleaning up afterwards for. We'll just come back and we'll clean up the ends. All right, what do we put on here? What makes it taste better? A little bit of salt and pepper. Let's be generous. There we go. A little bit of salt. These are just delicious. By themselves are so good. We're done with that. Look, I'm hearing that bacon pop. Are you hearing it pop? I bet it's about ready. Let's go check on it. I'm gonna rinse my hands on this one. Again, I think we have to drain it one more time, and we have to flip it. Let's see what we got here. Again, I folded my towel over a couple times. We're gonna use that. We have ourselves some more grease. Look at that, right? But we want to use that grease. Our bacon's getting nice and crispy. That's where we want to be. Again, you can do this. You don't have to bring it over to the chopping block. I just want to show that it can be done here. Our tongs, just to hold the edges in case they fall. We'll drain that bacon grease off just like that. Just for later usage. It's going to be so delicious in the foods that we're fixing. All right. And this bacon's looking good. One more round, I think, is going to make it very, very crispy. So I'm going to leave it just like this. I'm going to separate as much as I can. Just so when this last round cooks, when we put it back in there, we're making the extra, extra crispy bacon. That's how I like my bacon. Extra crispy. If this is good for you, hey, stop here. I like a little bit crispier. Let's put it back in. Just enough time to finish our salad. We'll keep this out here just to show how delicious that is. Now we'll use some cilantro on the salad today. Cilantro has a trick too. Don't go chopping down the stem of the cilantro. Always cut the edge of cilantro. Okay, just like this. Is really the flower part that you get, or the leaf part you're getting off. You don't want the stem parts in here. All right, so that's pretty much all we want. You can pick off some of the extra stuff on the outside if you want. That's great. Now cilantro bruises easy. So we don't want to mince it. We want to just give it a couple of chops. Pile your cilantro into the middle, right? And then keep your knife steady and push that cilantro in. See? I'm just pushing under the knife edge, and then before I go, I'm remove my fingers. Pull it back into a ball. Keep your knife steady. Put that cilantro in its way. There we go. That's enough. I'm just going to throw that over top. Nothing fancy. Look, when we start eating this salad, it's going to start moving. Cilantro's going to find its way to the bottom. It's going to find its own way home. There we go. Now we got one thing left, and that's an avocado. Always eat an avocado with your meals. The way to cut an avocado is real simple. Keep it down to the side. Put your knife in here. Just sink it in just like that. Keep the knife steady. Rotate that avocado while keeping your knife steady. Right down the middle. All right. That's going to give you a nice clean cut in avocado. Look at that. Pulling that seed out. Hold your knife like this. Use the butt of your knife. Just sink it in just a little bit. Like that. Squeeze the bottom of the avocado and turn your seed and it'll pop right out. Throw that away. Salt and pepper, of course. Here we go. That bacon sounded like it's about ready, so let's take a look at that bacon real quick. We're probably just about there on the bacon. Again, fold your towel up, use it. So we got a little bit more bacon grease. I'll take that. Oh my goodness. This is just about where I like my bacon. See how it's getting a little bit burned on the edges there? That's gonna be so perfect. Yeah. So we're done here. We'll just let that sit for a second. That's our bacon. Turn our oven off, obviously. We got a little bit more to go here. Want to get some lime on this avocado. As always, guys, look, eat some lime with your avocados. It brings out the flavor of the avocados. You get that extra vitamin C in there. Again, we want to hold our fruit, retract our fingers, use our knuckles to hold it. Use the knuckles as the butt for your knife, and cut down. Cut down. Look for that spine right there. Try to cut to the edges of the spine. See how that's nice and usable? And we'll cut that spine out the middle, giving us lots. We don't need this. You know what? This one's still a little good. I'm just gonna throw it over the top. Ain't nothing hurting. There we go. The lime's good in here. We'll use that later. Look, when you're eating your avocado, man, just squeeze some lime on there, eat it. Squeeze some more lime in there, eat it. Make it work for you, but that is gonna be our salad right there. Now, as always, you gotta have some nuts with your meal. Okay, here we go. Always have a little nuts. It's a great crunch layer. It gives you something crunchy to throw in your mouth in between bites. Gives a new texture to your food. And you know, it's just delicious. They're delicious and they're fantastic for you. There we go. Let's see here. We got our salad. We want to make sure we save our bacon grease. We'll pull this back a little bit. Right here. This is our preparation. This is what our hard work got us in the kitchen today. So there's definitely lots to be had here. Let me throw a little bit of this delicious bacon into the scheme here. See this? No, that bacon's fantastic. Oh my goodness. We did it on the bacon. You know, see the key was to keep on removing that bacon grease because they won't get crispy. They'll just drown in its own grease if you don't do it. Now, hey, look, if it was me, and it is, I wouldn't even wash this pan. I'd throw it in the oven when I was done with it and let that grease layer settle. And then next time I cook something on it, it's gonna have a little bit of bacon grease deliciousness to it. It's fantastic. So we'll leave that, we won't even wash that. So this is us right here. One last step though, okay? And I wanna make sure this is shown that we need to clean up really quick behind ourselves because it's the worst to come back into a kitchen after you've eaten and have a bunch of stuff to clean. So let's just kind of set this stuff to the side. Let's run our sponge over where we were just working. Put our tools to the side. Just clean our countertop. Just so the next person that walked in here, even if it's you, has a nice clean surface to start. Here we go. Come over and hit some dishes really quick. I'm gonna get rid of this in the trash can. No big deal. All right, quick wash. Skip the dishwasher. Guys, you don't need a dishwasher. This takes 5 seconds. Look, you didn't handle nuclear waste, all right? It just needs a quick scrub, all right? And it can go in the drain, just like that. Always keep your knife nice and clean, your knife nice and clean, and put it to the side. Try not to set it up in your thing. Try not to set it butt first. Just set it to the side, like that. That way you always know where your knife is. You don't want to be digging in the drain and find that knife turned up and cut yourself. We just wash our chopping board real quick. It's only seen some vegetables. It's not going to hurt anything. And our prep bowl. This is such a key part of keeping your kitchen ready and functional. And also making sure that when you're done with your meal, you don't have to go back and do any kind of nonsense. Your kitchen's clean, everything's good to go. There we go. Now we're gonna see this bacon grease reappear in some of the other meals. Obviously gonna use that. So I wanna make sure that you understand that this is how your meal should be. There's enough bacon in here to last a couple meals at least if you have a couple people. This usually lasts me a couple days for 2 people. Lots of nuts. This kind of salad will last for days. You just throw a top over it, throw it in the refrigerator, have your avocado, lots of delicious fats, great vegetables, fatty meats with proteins and lots of fat here. Guys, bon appetit. Enjoy.